Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolie Gabrielle from Elevated Planet. And we thank you so much for joining us today, this Sunday, for our live stream to help elevate the planet. And John is going to tell us more about what we have in store.
Yeah, thank you, Jolie. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one today. We've been putting it all on the line, as it were, over these last few months in particular about how 2024 is going to be a year of extreme change, and something that we can take control of to an extent like that we didn't before realize was possible because we've been told we don't have the power. That's the way we've been taught. But the reality is we have significant amounts of power. We can come together, particularly in group consciousness, and we can create a world of unspeakable beauty. So what we're going to be talking about today is about the storm of transformation that is taking place around us now. And we are going to be helped on our way today by Lee Harris of Lee Harris Energy. And Lee is an energy intuitive. We've used some of his broadcasts before on the show, and he channels the Z's, which is a galactic entity of 88. And the stuff is genius. I've got to say, I really do enjoy listening to the words of wisdom that come out through Lee and the Z's. So we're going to share with you the first little section, and what we're going to follow that with straight away is going to be Jolie is going to give us a healing based around what you'll hear over the next 7 minutes. So if you bear with me a second, we'll get Lee in front of us.
It's interesting. This month I got a general heading for all of these themes that I've been given intuitively this morning. The storm of transformation. We are in a storm of transformation, and I think often we think of a storm in a trepidatious way, or a way that can bring fear or concern. And I certainly think that a lot of what we're going through right now has that character for each of us on different days or in different moments. But the storm is also an energy that really brings a clearing and a change and releases pressure atmospherically. So the storm of transformation can be viewed in two different ways, and probably for many of us, we're viewing it in different ways at different moments as we're navigating it, depending on what we're dealing with. But I think remembering that we as a world are in a storm of transformation can be helpful when the sensitive side of you, or the more logical, more grounded side of you that's perhaps having trouble being logical or grounded because of how much is spinning in the world, it can really help you to remember what we're in. So I've received several different themes that I'm going to deliver and elaborate on. And the first one won't surprise many of you. The first theme for April is the world of extremes. World of extremes. So this relates to dark versus light, and this theme is bringing both global and personal healing. So I think many of us are aware, if you want to look at what's going on globally, you can see the drastic extremes that are showing up in the world. And traditionally, traditional media will tend to report only on the negative or the fear-based. Obviously, there is lots of alternative media that you can find, people reporting other sides of the story too. But this world of extremes that we're in right now, that we have been in for many years, it's been growing, it's been rising, it's been something that we're perhaps acclimatizing to. This dark versus light that we're seeing on the planet, it might be showing up in you and for you in your own personal journey. You might be getting in touch with some of these things that some of us will refer to as shadows, or old wounds, or old traumas, or old patterns of behavior that are rising to the surface for you to look at them, to clear or move them in a new way. But equally, your life itself might be bringing these dark versus light battles to you. It might be that you're supporting someone in your life who's going through one of these right now, where there is an energy of fight or war playing out for them, or you yourself might find yourself in that. You might find yourself rising in a way that you're either not proud of, or perhaps you have a reaction to something, and then you step back for a second and go, oh, hang on a second, that was my ego, or that was my fire, or that was my anger. I need to apologize to that person. I need to just take a moment and see what happened. There's a lot of that contentious energy in the air, and it's being fed and pumped globally in certain ways. But what we have to remember is that we, the people, have an incredible power in us to bring our hearts, our light, our love to the world in greater measure, especially at times like these where they're needed more than ever. So the world of extremes that we are in, and a lot of what we're seeing as dark versus light battle playing out on Earth, it is bringing global and personal healing with it. It's not always as easy to see that when you're in it. So for example, if you're in a stressful or difficult situation with somebody, at the moment you're going through it, you might only be able to feel and perceive the challenge of it. But there will be a reason that it's playing out. And one of the things that we've talked about a lot in these energy updates over the last few years is ancestral healing. So we are literally at a time on the planet where old consciousness, old human consciousness, is meeting future human consciousness. Something that is more connected to our place in the universe, not just our programming as human beings and what we've been taught and fed and told to believe we are. Everything is opening around that. And so we find as that happens, there is a lot of battling. And the old wants to hold on to the way things were. The new isn't quite sure of its place yet, or doesn't know how to develop, how to grow. So fights often begin because of fears of safety, the idea of trying to hold on to what you previously knew. So the world of extremes, when that is flaring, can bring up for you a certain level of lack of safety, lack of certainty, really unsure of your direction. And when this starts to arise in you, can you take a moment to sit with those feelings and wonder where they came from? Wonder what part of your history has got you into this place. And one of the things I often do is I remind myself how throughout history, every single generation has gone through its stress moments, its stress areas, its fears of what's happening to the world. And if we can come back to the smaller self, then we can really start to operate from not only inside who we are, but what's our immediate world. We had a team meeting this morning, and one of our team members said, I can't remember exactly what their words were, but it was focus on your address, meaning where you live. When the world gets overwhelming, when what's going on outside you is so big that you can't quite deal with it or fathom it or grapple with it, can you focus on what's going on in your home, in your house, in your local area, with your local community, to kind of bring it to a smaller place? Now, equally, some of you will be using the energy of the world of extremes to rise in power. So the world of extremes isn't necessarily just something that gets inflicted upon us. Some of you will be being challenged in a way that you will rise in power in yourself to be sovereign to who you are. And that will actually be the thing that shifts this dark versus light battle that you might see outside you or that you might find yourself in. So the world of extremes is not necessarily the most balanced or steady place to be, but it's not without its potentials, and it's not without its ways of helping you find your strength and your power. Last month in March, I said that one of the themes for March was going to be new levels of self-trust. And we really have to trust ourselves when things around us seem more extreme than usual or more polarized than usual. We have to come back to who we are. So it's a big theme, the world of extremes, and it has many different ways of showing up for each of us individually. But even though it might not be a desired energy that you are facing or looking at, our growth, our healing, and a shift in terms of our ancestral patterns is what we're all undergoing at the moment. So hold tight and hold steady if you are experiencing in a very visceral way the world of extremes.
What a beautiful picture. And for all of you, this is known as soul medicine. Rory Lamson has adopted theta healing into a more holistic process which embodies the positive teaching, the negative teaching, and the trauma teaching. So what is theta healing? It is when you are tapping into the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the hard drive, and the conscious mind is the monitor. And so whatever is happening in your day-to-day life is being programmed by what is in the subconscious. And the theta brainwave is that state that is really a great place of growth, development, and to be able to release and reprogram in that state. So what is theta? If you've ever been in that land between being asleep and awake, that is the theta brainwave, and it's a powerful way to reprogram the mind and the behavior. So what I'd like to do is just ask you to please just close your eyes, breathe with the rhythm of your body. And if you would like to have this, just say yes, as we are open and very respectful of free will. And for those of you who'd like to dive deeper, we do have healers on our Elevated Planet website, and Rory is one of our most loved, beloved healers on the site. So let's begin. So I'm going to go up and ask the Creator to give us a healing, and I'm going to witness it. So I will call my name and John's name, and then I will say everyone else who is listening to this healing. So right now, Lee Harris and the Z spoke of a positive transformation. So with your permission, I'd like to offer you, all the listeners, John Drew and Jolie Gabrielle, the Creator's perspective, understanding, and definition of transformation, making all of ours the same. With your permission, I'd like to offer you a healing, everyone who is listening, John Drew and Jolie Gabrielle, a positive teaching healing, a negative teaching healing, and a trauma teaching healing around positive transformation, making ours the same. Thank you. It is done, and so it is. Lee Harris and the Z's spoke of extremes, and I'd like to offer all of the listeners, John Drew and Jolie Gabrielle, the Creator's PUD of integration of these extremes, bringing us into a state of positive harmony. So the Creator's PUD of positive harmony and making ours the same. Thank you. It is done, and so it is. The Creator's PUD of divine integration and making ours the same. Thank you. It is done, and so it is. And I'd also like to offer to all of the listeners, John Drew and Jolie Gabrielle, with your permission, a positive teaching healing, negative teaching healing, and a trauma teaching healing, allowing for us to reconnect with our spiritual blueprint, opening up our crown to download in all of the unique and individual purpose that each of us has in this lifetime, and allowing us to manifest and unpack that in the most positive and productive way. Thank you. It is done, and so it is. Take a deep breath in, exhale. I'd also like, with your permission, offer to all of the listeners, John Drew and Jolie Gabrielle, the Creator's PUD of trust of self and trust, and actually attracting or magnetizing trustworthy people into our lives. Thank you. It is done, and so it is. And I'd also like to offer all of the listeners, John Drew, Jolie Gabrielle, a positive teaching healing, negative teaching healing, trauma teaching healing of self-trust and trustworthy behavior. And it's important that I say resolving and dissolving, which is the trauma teaching healing, but we resolve and dissolve this untrustworthy behavior from ourselves and others in this lifetime, past lifetime, parallel lives, all planes and all levels, resolving and dissolving on a history level, cancel, pull, delete, soul, core, and genetic level, send to creator's light, and replace on all 4 levels with unconditional love for others and self and unconditional forgiveness for others and self. Thank you, it is done, and so it is. Take a deep breath in, exhale. I'd like to also offer all of the listeners, John Drew and Jolie Gabrielle, the creator's PUD of divine connection with ourselves and the world around us in the highest and best way with grace and ease. Thank you, it is done, and so it is. I'd like to also offer to all the listeners, with their permission, John Drew and Jolie Gabrielle, positive teaching healing, negative teaching healing, trauma teaching healing of divine connection with ourselves and the world around us, leading us to joy and unspeakable beauty in the highest and the best way with grace and ease. Thank you, it is done, and so it is. I'd like to offer to all of the listeners, with your permission, John Drew and Jolie Gabrielle, positive teaching healing, negative teaching healing, and trauma teaching healing, allowing us to reconnect with the information, the knowledge, and the wisdom of our ancestors, our specific DNA bloodline ancestors, resolving and dissolving, letting go, the trauma teaching healing, any contracts, vows, agreements, other obligations, any spells, any curses, or any karma that is getting in the way of us experiencing joy and unspeakable beauty in this lifetime, highest and best way with grace and ease. Thank you, it is done, and so it is. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be able to offer this healing to you, and I ask the Creator to bless all who listens and partakes in this healing.
All right, that was beautiful. Thank you, Jolie. Right, yeah, so for my part on that, you know, I think, you know, that healing encapsulated the whole ethos of what it was Lee was imparting with us. You know, I mean, there's no doubt about it to my mind, you know, the storm is here to bring a clearing of the old and to allow in the new, you know, and this is where we come in, right? We don't fight the old, we build the new. So that's what Elevated Planet is here. But we do know that there is a world of extremes and that dark versus light. And we know from those Dead Sea Scrolls that you actually studied yourself, aged about 12, if I remember, Jolie.
That's right. My dad. It's yeah, a lot of these mysteries, or even, you know, what's Trismegistus and, you know, the laws of the universe, all of that stuff is so powerful. And it's coming back above ground. And when you talk about not worrying about the old is the paradigm of what you don't have, right? Or what used to be underground. So let's change the languaging, because even in Theta, it's about what's here now. What's here now is all this stuff is coming to the surface for you to partake of. So don't worry about the fact that it wasn't there before. Just dive in now. Exactly. You know, and I have to remind myself of that often. So that's how we lead ourselves closer to that joy and unspeakable beauty, is by really reaching for it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, exactly. And you know, also not getting drawn into the fear-based narratives that come through the media all the time, because that's what it's there to deflect us away from. It's, as you say, it's the old power structure. It's the old top-down power structure fighting to retain control. But they won't win. Their era is drawing to a close, but we will see them, you know, the sons of darkness, again, as the War Scroll said from the Dead Sea Scrolls, the sons of darkness, you know, one last conflict with the sons of light to see. But then the question was, well, what do we choose? What do we choose? We have a choice, and we are choosing unspeakable beauty.
Correct.
So that's where we're headed.
Because we're made up of both dark and light. But what unspeakable beauty does is it goes, use that darkness to fuel the light, you know? And what does that look like? That means get uncomfortable sometimes. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Feel those feelings. John, you and I were talking about how you have to think about all of the bottleneck of emotions you might have from the womb to now, right? You didn't get your diaper changed. Did you take that personal? You know, you didn't get your food on time, you know, and then you go through in kindergarten, you push me down. And are you expressing these emotions? Most of the time, oh no, get up, wipe yourself off and keep going. Oh, I don't want to hear about it. Oh, wipe those tears away. We don't cry. So go easy on yourself, you know, and know that there is some, I like to call spiritual fascia that's in the way that we want to work through to really get to that part of us that is okay and feels safe, you know, swimming in unspeakable beauty.
Yeah, I do love that. And, you know, one of the things that Lee talks about, again, contentious energy is in the air. And as we're going to find out very shortly, it's also under the ground. And that's where Rory Duff, who we're going to come to in a moment, who is a geologist, geobiologist, and quite an incredible man, really. And we're tapping into his wisdom next. But, you know, one of the things I did like about, again, Lee used the phrase, we the people can choose to help elevate consciousness, right? We the people. And we know what that is about, because that's our nos populi side of things, which will grow as the year progresses and we start to create that vision of unspeakable beauty, which we can, those who are interested can get behind that. And we come together with the power of group consciousness, which we know is incredibly powerful. And off we go. So yeah, the old human consciousness is battling with the new human consciousness of the future. And the other thing, I suppose, just one final point before we go to Rory, something again that Lee pointed out, the comfortable safety of the past versus the opportunity to embrace the new. And that's where people will struggle, because we've been taught to value safety, to value routine. And yet we know the world is full of impermanence. And in fact, you know, we've done a piece, which is a blog called The Wisdom of Uncertainty and the Power of Impermanence, which gets behind some of the Buddhist philosophies and others as well. So a lot of that came from the Deepak Chopra side of things as well. And I think that it's a really good one to take a look at, because it helps to prepare us for the future and actually identify with the fact that safety is overrated, because once you get addicted to safety, then as with any addictions, it does not allow you to really enjoy the fullness of life. So this is something that we will come to learn. But again, I would encourage you, if you get a chance, to have a look at that. I'll put a link on that on the weekly, so do check it out. And then the final thing was avoiding energy overwhelm by keeping it local. And I think that makes so much sense. You know, because we get fed by the media so much stuff about what is going on in a part of the world that you are highly unlikely to ever relate to. Now, absolutely, we can feel compassion towards those who are struggling in the midst of turmoil. But once we start to take it back into our own power and say, okay, right, what can I influence? What around me is important? Where do I have to be adding my energy to help people? You know? What do you think, Jolie?
I think that's absolutely right. And when you talk about local, don't forget yourself. I'm not saying get in the ego. We want to remove that. But once you get your house in order, it's a lot easier for your ego to step aside and allow for you to give in a way that helps move the light forward, right? Yeah. So don't ever forget to fill your cup up first.
Yes. Right. Okay. Now we will dive in with Rory Duff. So bear with me again a second.
Every time I have a chance, I'll get my rods out to just look at, see what's going on with the energy lines. And these things move hourly. So you need to be on your toes with it. But when I first started measuring the really one significant alignment with its two energy lines, the Michael alignment, the St. Michael and Mary lines, they were about 30 paces wide. And they had about a 30% movement from one of their width to one side and the other side over a 12-hour one way, 12-hour the other way. So it had a 24-hour frequency. But the width was something which stayed stable for years, till about 2017, when it just doubled in width. Since then, we've had these extra increases in width. And from December, the solstice last year, we had a slight increase. It was small. But then we had another one at the end of January and February, which really came with a wave of energy, which a lot of people felt. People listening to this will perhaps remember times just recently when you've been tired for no particular reason. You've had to just sit down and chill, and it's almost like you've had a long workout and you're exhausted, but you haven't got a reason. It's just your body responding to these energies. Well, back in the end of January, we had a big shift in the width of these lines. That moved us up to over 100 paces wide now, 105 paces we've been finding for these type 4 lines, which is really significant. And you have to start thinking, well, why have they suddenly widened, and what's happened with the source energy that's done this? Is it a sort of a lensing thing? Is it something else that's happened? Well, that led to a bit more investigation. And obviously, if you've got lines widening as well, by the way, and all the lines are widening, and I should remind viewers that a line is the high pressure concentration within the field. So you have the low pressure field everywhere. So you've got the widening aspect of it in high pressure. So if you extrapolate this further, and if it carries on, with all the lines we've got widening as well, the smaller ones too, it won't be long before everywhere is high pressure of one line or another. There won't be areas you can escape. But something else had happened as well. This is something I'd come across about 2 years ago with the larger type 5 emperor dragons. What we discovered is that these had really boosted in their widths, but in a way which wasn't actually uniform. Sometimes they were like, they're over a mile in width now, but some people are finding them more than that. Some people find them maybe there's about half a kilometer width, which is huge as it is. When we first came across the emperor dragons, they were 50 paces wide, and in 2017 they doubled to 100 paces. So now they're over a mile wide, but they weren't in all these different places the same. And what was discovered is you end up finding shadow lines. Type 5 ones had huge shadow lines either side of the emperor dragon lines. Now that's massive, and we started looking at, well, how could this possibly be the case? And yet we do have something which in dowsing we know about, and that is through water dowsing and dowsing water channels, and people have been dowsing for water for years. They're showing, because the intensity is there and it wasn't before, so another reason, this extra intensity, these lines we're picking up. Probably we didn't pick them up before because we weren't sensitive enough to the but now they're more intense. We're more easily picking them up. So we've got another mechanism where the Earth is flooding us with much more of this high pressure vibration, which we'll be much more sensitive to. So there's a sense of awakening of the planet and the Earth in that sense as well, and it's having a bigger effect on us. What we've always known about these energies is that when you live on them, they accentuate your emotions. So if you're feeling good, you'll feel very good. If you're feeling not so good, then you'll feel worse.
Do you see that as part of the polarization that we're seeing on the planet?
So you're going to get people reacting emotionally negatively, more vigorously, more vociferously. And that would lead to more antagonistic diversiveness amongst people, amongst families, amongst political groups. So yes, in that sense, we'll experience the reaction of it, but it will be down to, where we used to have a discussion with a laugh between two people. Now it's got really serious. It's like, if you don't hold that same view as me, then you're the enemy. There's no middle ground. It's complete division, and that is going to get more and more of an issue unless we deal with it.
Okay, we just do a little pause here, just to summarize that, because one of the things that people have always been asking, like if we're supposed to have this division into this 3D versus 5D Earth, high frequency energies versus the lower frequency energies, how could that possibly even occur? And it was very interesting when I first came across this from Rory, to hear about how the ley lines are expanding suddenly this year in particular, January, February, massive shifts, and something that was 50 paces wide is now in places over a mile wide, for these main emperor dragon ley lines. And what does that mean, and what difference does it make to us? Well, ley lines are energetic grids around the Earth, but as they as they expand outwards, what's happening, as he says, that the entire planet is surrounded by a low frequency energy that comes from these ley lines, with the high frequency energies being the ley lines themselves. But the way the ley lines are expanding out everywhere, before too long, if it carries on like this, is going to become a high frequency energy. There's not going to be just a low frequency energy field anymore. And what difference does that make to us? Well, you know, we are energy waves, right? We're 99.9999% energy waves. So when we are energy, and this is amplifying energy, that amplification comes through us as well. You know, we are part of Gaia Mother Earth. Therefore, when changes take place within Gaia, those changes reflect with us as well. The same way with the Schumann resonance, as that has been rising over the last few decades for the first time ever, from the 7.83 hertz, that was the way that it was always measured ever since it was first discovered. It's been interesting because that heartbeat of the Earth has been proven to directly impact humans as well, because we move in line with that energy from the Earth. So in the same way that as these ley line energies start to expand outwards, and as Rory said, you know, for those, they've always known that when people actually live upon ley lines, then their energies or their emotions get amplified. So if you feel good, you start to feel euphoric. If you feel bad, then you start to feel really bad. So, you know, it would accentuate a depression, it would accentuate joy. But what this is doing is the whole point is that it then helps to create the divide between those who get stuck in the low frequency energies versus those who can elevate into the higher frequency energies, the world of unspeakable beauty, for instance. So this kind of, to me, provides an explanation, a scientific explanation as to how that divide can be taking place. And I'm not saying that's the only way that that is being done, but it's fascinating that, you know, this is scientifically proven that these ley lines have expanded out. And again, it comes back to meditation, the ability to meditate on these lines, and what an implication it makes, because particularly in group meditations, because this is what he'll talk about next, actually, in the next section. So I won't go into that too much, but just see the power it creates. So Jolie, would you like to add?
That's quite incredible. I mean, think about it, you know, and if Mother Earth is doing that, and we are made of her essence, right? We are made of that, whatever it is. Look, I mean, it's amazing. I just want to say one thing about Mother Earth. I live in a place where fires burn her often. She just gets burned up. And then a year later, you go back and it is the most beautiful forest, the most beautiful, if it, you know, we get the rain, it's the most beautiful. She like repairs herself. She goes back to showing you her love, her nurturing, and her just unwavering, you know, ability to create. And that's what we are. And so when you think about what he talked about in terms of the dark fighting with the light, and the powers that be keeping us fighting with each other instead of really connecting and moving forward, just remember that that's within you, to make a choice at that moment to stop and say, you know what, this isn't working for me, and pivot. And how do you do that? Ground your energy into Mother Earth. She's there for you, right? And like, yes, I like to tell my children, or even you, and I'll be quiet, but remember, it's hard for humans to deal with your anger, your jealousy, your envy, your strong emotions. But Mother Earth, she's there to take all of that for you. So really develop a practice to where you can give that energy to Mother Earth, and you can fill up with divine energy so that you can share that unspeakable beauty with others. That's the way to do it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, that leads us into part 2 of Rory. Let's keep on going.
That leads us on to another interesting aspect was what we're beginning to learn from the meditation on these energies. And as we're led to things, we have to be reminded that these energies are symbolized in literature all around the world in stories as serpents and dragons. And the clearest, lots of cultures will talk about the nodes, the sacred sites, as distant learning centers. And these are places where we learn and we're taught. Even in Gnostic version of the Garden of Eden, the story there with the tree of knowledge, the tree of life, with the serpent. The serpent's known as the instructor, the teacher. So meditating individually or in groups on these sacred sites where there are these huge combinations of energies is where we get taught. If you're on this journey of understanding what's going on and you meditate with groups of people, you can find out quite quickly through shared experiences what you're all being guided to learn towards. And in the early years, it was like, oh goodness, you had the same visions and feelings as I did, and people would be sharing what came through in their meditations, and people saying, well, I got the same thing, and I got the same thing. And you think, well, how could you look at them? I mean, the probability of that is just out of the question, but especially when some of these things are happening, quite unbelievable similarities. So there's something was going on a few years ago, and something was building. It's seemingly helping us understand the divisiveness that we're going through and how we deal with this. Again, through the last winter solstice meditations that I'm aware of, and there were several up on major energy lines in the UK and elsewhere, the groups independently of each other were guided to really focus on peace and sending peace out into the world. And when we got to the sites, it was like very clear we weren't to be given peace. It was really windy, it was turbulent, grey skies, no sun at all, noisy in some places, and we were buffeted by the wind. Anyway, it was a good idea because of all the issues in the world, and for instance of the horrible genocide over in the Middle East at the moment. So we set about holding this thought of peace within us, and within a few minutes the sun began to appear. Okay, it's just like, oh my, and this was like the meteorological offices around Britain anyway. They get it wrong most of the time, but it looked like they were going to get it right this time with all the turbulence. And then it went again. And then after an hour of meditating, we really come together coherently as a group, holding peace within us. I promise you not, this was just blue skies all around, sun and no turbulence. Even the passing cars were seemingly silent. And the same thing was reported all throughout the other groups that I'd come across. It was like, there's a precedent for this that exists. And the ancient tribes and cultures would laugh at us because they do this all the time. I mentioned the Hopi before. We know that water and rain was so important to many tribes around the world. It began to dawn on us, there are people who can bring about rain when they need to. And they have ways of doing this. People say, oh, you pray for rain and you get rain. And I begin to think, well, actually, I don't think that might be the case. What you're doing is you're holding that which needs balance. So if you're holding within that which you would wish to see balanced without, if you're in arid conditions, your crops are dying through not raining, it's been a season which hasn't worked, there's an imbalance in the environment. By holding that balance within, you bring rain to bring back that balance. So if you're holding peace within and around all that turbulence, you're bringing back that balance, even to the extent that you're externally affecting the environment, like the rain or like the sunlight and then the cloud cover.
Rory, that is so powerful, and it fits that ancient Hermetic principle, as it is within us, so it is outside of us. But you're really describing how these energies can support us in healing and moving into this higher consciousness and creating this morphogenic field then that can be healing to the world around us and emanate out from us. I mean, this is powerful work that you're doing with.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just learning from them, but it's funny, but you see, they're not going to give us what we need. They're going to give us the conditions so that we can bring about what we need. So they gave us the turbulence in order to bring peace. They're going to give us despair, but that will give us a chance to bring forth positive expectation to balance out that. So we can hold positive expectation within us. And you'll think, well, how would you do that? But the signs are all there of how we do that. You look at why labyrinths are so closely associated with sacred sites and Native American Indian tapuats. They're same sort of single lines where you walk the final part of the pilgrimage trail. And you don't get to the center. You don't quite get there. You don't quite get there. There's a sense of building expectation. And that building positive expectation of something wonderful happening in the middle is exactly that internal butterflies in your stomach before the start of a race type feeling. And you can get that just sitting waiting for the sun to rise. So that's something you can do. You can get that with a drum beat that slowly beats faster and faster and faster and faster and faster until you know the time is to start. So you build that form of expectation within you, as well as holding that peace within you. You will feel that the group effect, that the dispel despair. And I suspect the same thing again will happen in the summer. And by the way, hope is a perfect thing for spring, because hope springs eternal. And it's where new shoots of life grow. Everyone is hopeful. Yes. But of course, then you have the summer when you've got the harvest time and the fruits of joy. Everyone's happy. So you're going to be, is your joy going to be tested? Yeah, we're not going to be given joy. We're going to be given sadness. And that sadness, for whatever reason, will make us have to go within to bring balance, to balance out that sadness with internal joy. So we'll have to find a way of bringing that about. And again, in autumn equinox, we're going to be probably having to put together a form of self-esteem, confidence, belief in ourselves, what we're doing, to combat the fear that's going to be generated, probably in the lead up to some horrendous political decisions made by people who really aren't on the side of the mainstream population in the world. But we're going to be given that choice. It's all about the same educational process. It's preparing us for what's coming, which Steiner and many others in the prophecies talk about evolution of consciousness, which is huge. But I do need to mention that what we're being taught is that polarity doesn't exist. There aren't opposites. And people think, well, you've got hot and cold, you've got light and dark. No, that's the illusion that the Hegelian dialectic want to use to divide us. The whole divide and conquer is how the few can control the many. It's like the old saying of the king on the mountain, and he sees all his men are below him wanting to attack him. And his advisor says, no, the trick is not to fight them, it's to get them to fight each other. So they're busy trying to get us to fight each other, the two different sides, when actually they're the same aspects of the same thing. If you think of them as two aspects of the same thing, you can bring them together. If you think of them as opposites, they'll never come together.
That was wonderful. So what I really love about that, again, there was something that we went through about 3 or 4 weeks ago with Greg Braden, where he was explaining how his Native American friend had gone about creating rain at a time of drought, and he'd done this by, not asking for rain, but actually feeling and absolutely with all his 5 senses, feeling, tasting the rain, the feeling of the mud around his feet, and the fact that the corn was going to be over the top of his head, and he could like sense it and he could feel it from his medicine wheel as he was in the New Mexico part of America. But when Rory's putting this, he's saying the same thing, slightly different language, right? Holding the balance, being the balance. So when you are looking for peace in the world, you don't ask for peace, you are the peace, because there's plenty of conflict energy out there outside of you. But when you hold that inner peace and the joy and the happiness, the unspeakable beauty, however we want to phrase it, when you hold that within, that is what you bring. That is what you are bringing and helping to bring balance to. So I think I love the way he does that. And I love the fact that these group meditations have been coming together, instigated by Rory and his friends on energy lines to accentuate the energies that are being put out there. And more we're seeing, a lot of this kind of stuff with Lynn McTaggart, Greg Braden himself, and so many others really working on this now with humanity to help us step back into our power. And in fact, I am going to be going to a Rory Duff seminar this month. which will be the first of 3 that I will be going to, which will talk about the group meditations and how to pull these into an alignment that helps us all to get there. So we can elevate ourselves through coming together in this way and starting to bring those energies through us for those who are ready. What do you think, Jolie?
I think that's awesome, John. You're going to be with Rory, Duff, and learning. That's amazing. And, you know, we're really working to help integrate that. That was what that theta healing was about, was the integration of the dark and the light, and really remembering that sometimes another part or layer of that Hegelian dialectic he spoke of was there's a problem that's presented by the same people that are socially engineering the reaction and then providing the solution for you, right? So always remember that your gut and your intuition speaks volumes as to when you hear things in your environment and in the media. You have an automatic detector within you and an automatic dowser within you as far as like what is real, where to go, your purpose. And now you've been aligned with that. So connect with Mother Earth. I mean, reach out to people like Rory Duff or, you know, for that information. It's just like, feed yourself all of this good that's out there, that's coming to the surface for us to really connect and join hands in order to, I mean, it sounds like a pipe dream. I get it. That's why we work on an individual level. We spread the word and we continue to just step in a place of joy, you know, and that's why we're here. And all of these people are so helpful in getting us there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what I love about it is the commonality of the message that we see across so many. You know, the Neil Donald Walsh side of things, you know, conversations with God, you know, whether or not you believe that is God being channeled, you know, you only have to listen to the wisdom, right? And you can make your own mind up about that, but whatever, there is still very, very deep wisdom within those books, if you like. So, you know, it almost doesn't matter. The fact is, when you sense that love, understanding, you know, just a beautiful, beautiful books, which really help to elevate us to who we get into our true power, to tell us who we really are. And we are, you know, part of a God force energy or whatever that Neil Donald Walsh would tell us about. So, yeah, I think it's great to have these people around us educating.
And let's stop denying that we're all interconnected. You know, let's really like lean into that as something that we can use and rely upon to move forward, because for so long we have been individuated. You know, the emphasis has been on us being competitive and, you know, you're in your own silo. It's not really working anymore. So reach out, you know, and just try your best to connect in a way that is harmony. Oh, I wanted to bring that up before we move into the meditation. Balance. I want to be a little controversial here. Like we talked about this, John, like balance, when you're trying to balance things, you're really not moving. Because you're trying. So I get the word balance, but I think moving forward, it's about harmony. Because when you think about harmony, you think about integration, and you might stop and have to like adjust, but you're keeping moving. And harmony also provides a rhythm, right? And rhythm also means movement. Yeah. So I feel like a better word for balance and what these greats and these masters we're learning about are talking about really is a harmony more than a balance. Because when the scales are balanced, we're like, yeah, you know, that's good, but that's a comfort zone. You know, harmony is more expansive and it embraces. Okay, so that's just what I wanted to put on the table there.
It's a very good point. I think comfort zones are overrated, as we will. I don't think we're going to have that choice, because chaos is a prerequisite for change. Otherwise, why would we change? And that is where we're heading into, as Lee put it, the storm of transformation. And Rory again put on another layer for us there of how this is actually occurring under our very feet, apart from anything else. And actually, the 2 videos that we've discussed or shown today, I will be putting links onto those full onto the full videos, because there's an awful lot more information within both of them. So anybody who feels so inclined, they'll be within the weekly newsletter, and you will be able to see them in their totality. So again, if anybody needs to be added to our distribution list, drop me an email at johndrew@elevatedplanet.life, and I'll make sure you get on that distribution list. Meanwhile, a guided meditation visualization. Do you feel that we are getting there now, Jolie?
Yes. What we're going to do is we're going to cut through the fat, like on every level. So our meditation is going to be breaking up the spiritual fascia that we have. And you know what I mean by that is, you know, the fascia in your body between your skin and your muscles. And sometimes that tightens on you, right? And sometimes it's not your muscle, it's the fascia. So it's what I want to do is remove that, because what is it? It's blocking the flow of energy. So we're going to take off all that spiritual fascia, which I call any and all blocks on our aura layer and our chakras and our soul architecture. And then we're going to move forward. So let's begin. Ready?
Yes, I'm going to go. It goes to the right screen, and we are cooking.
So in the meantime, everyone, please just find a comfortable place to sit down. You know, kind of wiggle in your seat. Put your feet flat on the floor. For those of you laying down, just keep it flat for the first part of the meditation. Make sure your hands are face up so that energy can flow. I want you to take a deep breath in. Take your time, hold it for a minute. Exhale. I want to relax those shoulders, those knees, those hips. Bring your awareness down into the heart chakra. And then we're going to do a beam of light from the heart of love, just this light of love, all the way down to the third, to the second, to the first chakra. And then we're going to begin to create this grounding cord. We're going to use our own energy and the energy of Mother Earth coming together to create a grounding cord, a beautiful grounding cord of a natural earth element. Let it appear to you or command whatever it is to be so. As it moves through the lithosphere, it starts to pick up speed, traveling at the speed of light, at the speed of love, and then it roots itself into the core of Mother Earth. This living, breathing grounding cord, taking in all of the nurturing energy, knowledge, wisdom, and healing from Mother Earth, is 6 inches in diameter and connected to your first chakra. It's time to clean it up. So call in those golden, rose-shaped, scrubbing bubbles, blanketing the inside and the outside of your grounding cord, all the way down to the roots. Let this do its work while you simultaneously command a golden sun to be placed above your head from the divine. And you see the divine fill it up with all that beautiful cosmic life force energy. And it represents itself as the color gold. And so now we're going to pull in our aura layer, a part of our soul architecture, our personal energy, to be 1.5 feet around us, meaning 18 inches in front of us, behind us, to the right and to the left, top and bottom, and we sit in the center. We call our higher self to sit at a comfortable distance above us, and we strap our astral body in. Snap it in. Feet in feet, knees in knees, hips in hips, hands in hands, elbows in elbows, shoulders in shoulders, head in head. And so now, that golden sun above our head, we're going to open our crown like we would the lens of a camera, and allow for that to cascade down, filling up the center of our head, resolving and dissolving all of that worry, doubt, and fear, anybody else's energy, anything we're ready to let go of, negative thoughts, beliefs. We are saturating all of the cranium, all those folds, the pituitary, the pineal, the prefrontal cortex, every part of the brain, the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the medulla, all of that. Get in there, get in the limbic system, sending all of this down there to the base of the spine, the neck, basically, right? All in there. I want you to see it and feel it. And now, as this energy begins to cascade down the center of you, and then it hits that light that's in that heart, and it moves itself on down that grounding cord, just cascading, sparking, beautiful light all around you. And it's just lighting you up. Your body's just lighting up. And as it is lighting up, just see it. And in this heart, it's just catching that momentum of that beautiful golden sun that's just pouring down, that cosmic energy. And as that heart just begins to send all of that blood throughout your system and heart-shaped blood cells and molecules, and you're the captain of all that space within, what you're going to do now is you're going to turn that heart into a ball of beautiful white light. And what this white light is going to do is it's going to resolve and dissolve. It's going to evaporate that spiritual fascia. It's going to evaporate all of the blocks, all of the things that are getting in the way of you allowing for that light and unspeakable beauty to flow through you and to you. I want you to go ahead and see that thin layer of just that blockage between you and all of your goals, between you and the divine, between you and that the pinnacle of the lifestyle that you want to lead, that spiritual zenith, just being wiped away, dissolved, that thin layer, allowing for you to just burst forth. And through all of that beautiful light that is you, beaming itself out into the universe. Make sure you see it in the back of you as well. Letting go of all of the past. Those hooks, those cords, those vows, those contracts and agreements are resolved and dissolved. Those hoses are uncording themselves from behind you. You're leaving your past behind as you're filling up with this gold light, which is propelling you towards your divine future. See it. Hold this space. Allow for that ball of light that is your heart to just twist and turn. Eating up, this light is just eating up all of the darkness and just sucking it inside of it to be utilized as your creative energy. All of this, and now it's out in your chakra, anybody else's energy, all this ball of light. It's just, you're just this beam of white light, your body. And now this white light is out into your aura layer. Just bright, beautiful, like a star of love, a star of unspeakable beauty, as this beautiful ball of light keeps rolling and twisting and turning in your chest and just letting off this light all into your aura layer, down your grounding cords, sprouting out of your crown, out into the universe. You're like one big beam of light, firecracker of energy, just unleashing all of that spiritual potential. And all of the laws of the universe are moving throughout you, integrating into you. Every cell of your body is being filled with this cosmic transformation, propelling you towards your divinity, your positive goals, your divine lifestyle. There is nothing in your way. A pure gold road ahead of you. Let this beautiful golden ball or white light, whatever color resonates with you, continue to twist and turn in your chest, resolving and dissolving the past, letting go of the things that no longer serve you, and creating this beautiful being of light. 360 degrees of pure, divine energy pulsating in you, around you, and through you. Take a deep breath in, exhale. Let that ball of light slow itself down. And let it come to its natural state, the color green, as it keeps spinning, 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 spinning. As it settles itself down, take a deep breath in, exhale. You see your crown, go ahead and close your crown like you would the lens of a camera. Take a deep breath in, exhale, allow all the light to settle around you and in you. And if your heart chakra was closed, go ahead and close that down. and see if you're still grounded and rooted in Mother Earth. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
There we go. Beautiful.
All right.
Thank you, Jolie. That was
Absolutely. Thank you.
really wonderful. And the backing track there, which is a point of interest because we've been pulling together these different solfeggio combinations recently, and this one was a mix. We had a cocktail for you today, which was 174 hertz, which is, of course, pain relief and healing. Then we got 417, which clears negative energy and blockages. So you will have noticed those just flowing away naturally. And then finally, 741 hertz, which is the natural detox, gets rid of these toxins, opens people up emotionally, and it's very liberating and allows you to get into your true self-expression. So not only Jolie's words of wisdom, but the frequencies would have been working on those as well. So quite a package.
Yes. Thank you, John.
Pleasure. Yeah, thank you again, Jolie. And I think that's it for this week. So appreciate everybody being here. Newsletter goes out tomorrow. And as I say, anytime anybody has any questions or wishes to join our distribution list, John Drew at elevatedplanet.life will get you through to us, or you can go on our elevatedplanet.life website and there is a contact page through which you can reach us there as well. Okay, so I think that's it. So thank you, Jolie. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you so much.
And we will be back to you sometime very soon.